And with that, we say hello and welcome to CBS Sports HQ. I'm Hakeem Dermish. This week's SEC on CBS Game of the Week features a rivalry that dates back to 1901, the third Saturday in October. Alabama and Tennessee clashing in Knoxville. The Vols have never defeated Nick Saban, 0-15 all time. Tennessee with a prime opportunity to turn the tide and earn their first win against Alabama in 16 years. And the dogs were barking. Old Rocky Top is rocking. We're at Neyland Stadium. Over 100,000. Both teams entering this matchup undefeated for the first time since 1989. Bryce Young is back. Injured 2 weeks ago in a game against Arkansas. Hendon Hooker and the Vols looking for their first 6-0 start since 1998. Won the national championship that year. First quarter tied at 7. Hendon Hooker to Jalen Hyatt just getting started. Tennessee up 14-7. Hooker's 18th straight game with a passing touchdown. How about another? Next Tennessee possession, 3rd and 2 in the red zone. Hooker fakes, dumps it to Hyatt. He's in. Tennessee up 21-7. Hooker 2 passing touchdowns in all 6 games this season. More from this connection later. Early second quarter, Tennessee punting from their own 32. Paxton Brooks with a short punt just past midfield. McKeel Stewart tries to pick it up, but loses it. Christian Charles jumps on top of it. What are we doing? Oh, no. You can't make that mistake, young man. Oh, no. Nick Saban, are you kidding me? Golly gee willikers. Ensuing Tennessee possession. They're going to make them pay. Princeton Fant muscles his way in. Tennessee up 28-10. Vols with their most points scored against Alabama since 2003, a game the Vols won. Fireworks in that game, fireworks in this game. Ensuing Alabama possession. Bryce Young to Ja'Cory Brooks. Touchdown tied. Alabama down 28-20 at halftime. But a great effort there. Great catch from Ja'Cory Brooks. Early third off a Tennessee turnover on downs. Young to Jermaine Burton. Go get it, young fella. Terrific leaping catch. 36-yard gainer just outside the red zone. Next play, Jahmyr Gibbs. The Georgia Tech transfer going to walk right in. We're tied at 28 after a 2-point conversion. 18 straight points for the Crimson Tide. Vols answer. Ensuing Tennessee drive near midfield. Hooker, play action. Throws it deep to Hyatt. 60-yard scoring strike. What a connection. Vols up 34-28. Hyatt's first 3 receptions, all for touchdowns. Crimson Tide undeterred. Gibbs in for 6. Alabama up 35-34 after the extra point. The over of 68 cashes. It's Alabama's first lead of the game. Gibbs with his 3rd touchdown of the game. Then after throwing his first interception of the season, Hendon Hooker looking for redemption, and he gets it. Early 4th, 78-yard touchdown for Hyatt. And consider their best receivers injured right now. Cedric Tillman. Hyatt, a school record 4th touchdown of the game. Tennessee up 42-35 after a 2-point conversion. Alabama looking to tie things up the next drive. Going for it on 4th and goal. The Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young, makes a play. Cameron Latu, touchdown. We're tied at 42. This game was an instant classic. It was awesome. If you don't like college football, I don't know what's wrong with you. Then a scoop and score. Oh, no. On the transfer there. Jabari Small and Hendon Hooker cannot connect. Dallas Turner, who committed to Alabama here on HQ, scoop and score. Alabama 49-42, perhaps momentum swinging. But Hendon Hooker makes a play. No, he doesn't. It's intercepted, and the game is over, and Alabama's going to win this. But hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Kool-Aid McKinstry makes the catch, but there's a flag on the play. Defensive pass interference on Malachi Moore. Alabama's 16th penalty game. They commit a 17th, a school record. Next play, Hooker. Let me get it to Hyatt. That's my guy, my BFF. Touchdown number 5. Tennessee ties it at 49. The 98 points is the most in the history of this matchup. Hope you had the over. Hyatt, 6 catches, 207 yards, 5 TDs. Bryce Young with time to lead a game-winning drive. The Heisman Trophy winner, battling with a Heisman candidate. 45 seconds left. Ja'Cory Brooks, 18 yards and a first down. Will Reichert on for the go-ahead field goal from 50 yards out. Career high 52. No. Missed it right. The Vols have life. He made all of his kicks all day long until that point. 9 seconds left. Hooker to the USC transfer. Brew McCoy leaping grab, 27-yard gainer. Clock stops with 2 seconds left. First down. Tennessee calls a timeout, setting up for a 40-yarder. Chase McGrath on for his first field goal attempt of the game. Missed next point earlier. Can you be a hero? Yup! Walk me off! Tennessee with a stunner. An upset of Alabama. What a game. What an instant classic. What a scene at Neyland Stadium. Oh my goodness. It was a knuckleball. That was wild. I mean, that was probably good from 45. Tennessee beats Nick Saban for the first time. Get your victory cigars. Tennessee starting 6-0 for the first time since 1998. Won the national title that season. Remember T. Martin? Man, he was a good player. He was a quarterback, led him to that title. Good team. Victory cigars are being handed out all over Knoxville right now, and they're having themselves a night there in Knoxville, Tennessee. You know who had himself a night? Jalen Hyatt. Big game Dennis Dodd with the record-setting receiver post-game.
After 15 years, what does this mean?
Hey, I mean, to see everything, man. Ball Nation came to support. It's been a while since we beat them, but Ball Nation is back. Ball football is back, and we just showed the whole world.
What does it mean to beat these guys the way you did? It was back and forth in the second half.
Man, it means a lot. It means a lot to the family, to the fans, to the coaches, to our players. We came out here and executed, and we grinded. That's what we did.
What's the ceiling for you guys now?
It's as far as we want to take it. We got a confident team. We have great players. This is what we want to do. I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of what we did today. We just got to keep going for next week and just keep everything what we got to do for next week.
Thank you.
Hey, tie me up, bro. Tie me up. Hey, bro, tie me up. That is the best thing I've seen all day. No question about it. That's the best thing you're going to see all day. I mean, big game Dennis Dodd in there with the college students, in there fighting for an interview with Jalen Hyatt. I mean, our guys are working. When I say big game Dennis Dodd, I mean big game Dennis Dodd. I'm just throwing it around. I mean, my goodness, what a big game for Tennessee. Partying like it's 1998. Smoke them if you got them. First 6-0 start since 1998. They won the national title that season. And look, they got some games coming up. They got Georgia coming up in 3 weeks as they battle for supremacy in the SEC East. Alabama, though, still controls its destiny in the SEC West. But a win for Tennessee, the third Saturday in October. Their first win in the series since 2006. All right, let's welcome in our heavy hitters. Former Florida State standout, two-time Super Bowl champ Ryan McFadden, and CBS Sports HQ college football analyst Barrett Sallee. And Barrett, I'm going to start with you because you predicted this last week. You said Tennessee would beat Alabama. I don't know if you thought it was going to be an instant classic the way it was, but you predicted this incredible victory for the Vols.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought last week when we saw what Tennessee was able to do to LSU, they jump on you like a cobra, right? And at that point, when they got that big lead over Alabama, Alabama got away from its comfort zone. They were scrambling. Now, they did get the lead back, but Tennessee forced Alabama to play Tennessee football. And that is ultimately why Tennessee won this game. And I tell you what, Brad Nessler said it on the broadcast after the game. If you don't love college football, something's wrong with you. Look, I remember back in the day, Tennessee beat Alabama. They ripped down the goalpost. They partied with it on the strip until about 3 a.m. and then dumped the goalposts in the river. I think that's probably what's going to happen tonight on Rocky Top. That is going to be a wild scene.
Yeah, unbelievable atmosphere. Tennessee was fired up. They were prepared, jumping out, scoring 21 points. You talk about jumping on you like a cobra. They were able to demonstrate that in the beginning of this ball game. And Hendon Hooker just was in motion. The chemistry was there. The rhythm was there. He never felt uncomfortable. This is a guy that really put the nation on notice that he is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best, in college football, and clearly he deserves to have his name in that Heisman conversation. Both quarterbacks, deservingly so, had a Heisman-like moment, but of course it goes to the quarterback that won the ball game, and that was Hendon Hooker. I would love to see an instant classic with these teams facing off again because this was so entertaining. So hats off to Tennessee, and hats off to their defense getting the necessary stops that it needed to get. But in regards to Alabama guys, let's keep it real. They did not deserve to win this ball game. If it wasn't for Bryce Young, they would have got blown out. Having double-digit penalties for 130 yards, 17 penalties to be exact. They had 9 penalties in the first half. That's uncharacteristic coming from a Nick Saban-led team.
Yeah, you can't have that, B-Mac. I mean, that was a school record. They never had that many penalties in a game before. So they didn't help themselves. But I will take you back, though, B-Mac, because Tennessee made a mistake on the transfer between Hendon Hooker and Jabari Small. Dallas Turner, who committed to Alabama here on HQ, jumped on it, scoop and score, and you thought, okay, the tide is turning here, pun intended, for Alabama to pull away and win this game as they take a 49-42 lead. You think, because all the air was just sucked out of Neyland Stadium right after this play.
No question. And the thing about that play, that turnover, it felt like Alabama could not get a stop. So not only getting a stop, but putting points on the scoreboard, the momentum shift in their favor. But because of penalties, right? Tennessee, they were able to drive the length of the football field on an interception that we thought was an interception that was called back because of a PI. They ended up scoring. But one thing I think really hurt Alabama guys, and let me know what you think about this as well. That final drive that led to the missed field goal opportunity for Alabama. The last time they got a first down, they threw the ball three downs. At some point in time, run the ball, try to get some yards, positive yards, or try to put the ball in the middle of the football field. You had timeouts, and time was still on your side. So 2 things happened. Number 1, you run the football, you utilize the clock, force Tennessee to use their timeouts. If not, they don't see the football, regardless if you make it or miss it. But that was just bad play calling, in my opinion, when you got 2 timeouts. First down, you threw it. Second down, you threw it. Third down, you threw it. Didn't do anything positive as far as yards, and didn't work any time off the clock.
Yeah, B-Mac, that's exactly what I was thinking, too, because Tennessee made Alabama play Tennessee football, and that was a perfect example of it right down the stretch. It's almost like they got wrapped up in the moment, and they couldn't get back to what their foundation is, and that really is Jahmyr Gibbs on the ground. I know Bryce Young played a great game, but they're a run-first football team this year. So, yeah, I mean, and then I think with Tennessee, look, the scoop and score by Dallas Turner, the missed extra point in the second half, Tennessee fans have gone through a lot, and it's like, oh, God, what are we going to do this time? Tennessee's going to find a different way to screw it up. For this team to come back, to take those punches and land counter punches in the way they did, especially that Brew McCoy catch in the final minute. I mean, that's stuff of legend. That's one of those plays that's going to be remembered in Tennessee history for a very long time. So you have to give credit to Josh Heupel. He's got this team believing. He has them taking ownership of how they play. They understand their identity, and it showed, man, because from the moment that game started, Tennessee did not feel like it was out of it. The fans might have, but the players were focused in, they followed the game plan, and they followed through in a way that I thought was impressive. And Hendon Hooker, I mean, B-Mac, you hit on it earlier. That dude should be the Heisman frontrunner. I mean, C.J. Stroud's not playing this weekend, so, you know, he can't make a counter argument, but Hendon Hooker should be the Heisman frontrunner.
Yeah, you talked about their identity, Barrett, about in terms of what they do. They're one of the highest scoring teams in football, behind only Ohio State. Tennessee's number 2 in FBS. And how about Jalen Hyatt? I mean, my goodness. 6 catches for 207 yards and 5 touchdowns. If you play fantasy football, college football style, that's 56 points. B-Mac, that's 56 points for Jalen Hyatt. This kid was on fire.
And think about this, Jalen Hyatt is from South Carolina, Columbia to be exact, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't even get an offer from South Carolina. And Muschamp was the head coach at that time, if I'm not mistaken as well. So think about that. A guy who just put the entire world on notice that he's not only one of the best wide receivers in the SEC, but clearly he should have his name in that Biletnikoff conversation as well. And the thing about Hyatt, he's a rangy guy, extremely fast. But what they do is, with those wide splits that you see from the wide receivers, they have Jalen as the inside guy, or he's the stack guy, and he's basically the number 2 wide receiver. So what happens is he gives an inside breaking route, inside release, and that instantly puts him on the safety. So anytime there's a man-to-man situation, it's pitch and catch for Hyatt and Hendon Hooker, and that's what we saw. And that's the thing too, guys. I was so amazed that I didn't see any secondary adjustments, any defensive play calling adjustments, because when you're in a man-to-man situation and they have their best wide receiver on your safety, that's a matchup in their favor. Switch to a zone where you can just body position your defenders to be able to create a minimum throwing lane for Hendon Hooker. Every touchdown you saw him, the long touchdowns were all man-to-man, and look who it was on. A safety, a guy that's not deserving to even try to cover Hyatt. Great play calling by Tennessee, but horrible adjustment, lack thereof, from Alabama.
And you know what, B-Mac? The best might be yet to come for Tennessee, though, because their best receiver is Cedric Tillman, and he didn't even play. So if we're talking about matchups, if we're talking about safeties getting put in bad situations, watch out when Cedric Tillman comes back, because there's nothing you can do to stop those guys.
Hey, Barrett, that's the thing about Hyatt. He totally made me forget about Tillman. I forgot about Tillman. And you're right, Tillman is the guy. Unfortunately, he's been dealing with an injury. But because of that, now they have a new superstar. And when they get Tillman back into the thick of things, people forget how legit and how pro-like Tillman is. Oh, my goodness. I totally forgot about that. Thank you, Barrett. Thank you.
Wow. I don't even know if you could cover those guys.
Not right now. I've eaten too many pound cakes and red velvet cake. Barrett, I wouldn't go out there and try. I like how my hamstrings feel right now. I don't want to hurt anything because the way how my body is set up, I don't bounce back like I used to.
Jalen Hyatt, the slot receiver, and then, of course, Brew McCoy, the USC transfer, getting some more targets. And that catch by Brew McCoy and the throw by Hendon Hooker to set up the touchdown, the field goal, was incredible. The late game management by Josh Heupel, the late game execution by those players. Barrett, when you look at this, this has been almost 3 decades, or 2 decades in the making. They had never beaten Nick Saban. 0-15 all time, their first win in the series since 2006. What does this mean for Tennessee as a program?
Well, it's a statement that it's back. It's a statement that Tennessee's back. I think, look, we talked about this all offseason. Who's Georgia's primary threat in the SEC East? People said Florida, people said Kentucky. I said Tennessee, and I think right now the accelerant's been pushed. The accelerator's down on the floor right now because you've seen what Josh Heupel can do, and then you look at the recruits that were here this weekend. Whether Tennessee won that game or they just finished with a close loss, that place is going to be a mecca for recruits for the next couple of months. So I think right now the state of Tennessee football is that it is getting to a point where it's a national championship contender. I think it's there right now, but I'm talking the Peyton Manning days into the T. Martin era where pretty much all the time you're going to count on Tennessee being a top 10 team. And that's where it is right now. It's Josh Heupel. He deserves a ton of credit for it because, man, that guy inherited a train wreck at this point. But this is, I think, owning their identity and figuring out who they were, targeting a guy in Josh Heupel who can do things a little different, has made the entire Tennessee program rise from the ashes. It's been an interesting couple of years on Rocky Top, and it's not slowing down anytime soon.
No question. And they're only concerned about the here and now. When you talk about Josh Heupel and the job that he's done, what he has shown all of us is that, number one, if you believe in the scheme, you can make things happen. Number two, the football is a quarterback-type game. If you don't have a quarterback, especially in college football, you're going to struggle. But if you have a quarterback and a guy that potentially can play on Sunday, you will win ball games. I tell people this all the time. In regards to college football, you only need 2 things. Pretty good coaching, real good quarterback play, or pretty good quarterback play, real good coaching. If you have both, you're going to win ball games and you're going to be in an area where you can compete for championships. And right now, not having a dog in the race, I'm excited to see Tennessee back being relevant. It's good for football. A lot of these 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, they don't remember when Tennessee was relevant during the former days.
You're right.
With Peerless Price and Jamal Lewis, Ray Knock Thompson, Deion Grant. They don't remember those names. So seeing this today is great. And also, it kind of switches the narrative now, especially in the SEC East. I understand and know the Bulldogs are still taking care of business, but we've seen a few weeks where we've seen some up and down play by UGA. And now, for such a long time, guys, we know the East was already won before anything was said or played. Right now, I don't know where they will play each other at. I don't know if it's in Athens and Knoxville, but I can tell you this much. Tennessee will have something to say in regards to who comes out of the SEC East this year for sure.
Yeah, that game is at Georgia. And that's gonna be pretty special. They got UT Martin up next, and then Kentucky, and then Georgia, and that's really the decider for the SEC East, because Alabama still they certainly still control their own destiny in the West. But my goodness, what a statement Tennessee has made this season, and then on this day, getting their first win against Alabama since 2006. Barrett Sallee, Bryant McFadden, break it down for us here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you, men. I mean, what a season this is for Tennessee. And look, you kind of felt the magic, right, when they beat Pitt in overtime, and then that game against Florida, and then the statement that they made against LSU last week, hanging 40 on the road against LSU, and then on this day. Look, that's an instant classic. That's one of the best games you will ever see as a college football fan, and we got to see a treat right there at Neyland Stadium. Get right to the site. Welcome the man who is on the call for the game, Gary Danielson, there from Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. Gary, how are your nerves right now?
I'm fine. We were concentrating. I don't know. We're pretty lucky to be part of this stuff. We've had, so many great memories. Vern actually texted me after the game and said, what a day to miss. You remember the old times, but these are special days to be part of.
How would you describe what you watched there? I mean, that was a heavyweight fight between two prize fighters, with the Heisman Trophy winner and a Heisman candidate in Hendon Hooker. I mean, Bryce Young giving it his all, Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt hooking up 5 times, and then the kick to end it. I mean, it was classic.
So I have my own beliefs and styles. I don't expect everybody to believe, agree with me on everything, but I'm not a big, type of player that announcer that just believes that every play is the last play and all the momentum from that play you almost have to give up. You just got to keep playing if you're a good athlete. You just give the other team credit for what they do. I thought both these teams showed why they're championship material. One team makes a run, the other team sits back and go, okay, we'll get our chance and we'll come back at you. Bama did that first. But then Tennessee did it. They did it once, they did it twice, and then at the end of the game when they were lucky enough to get 15 seconds to go, their quarterback stepped up and made 2 great throws. So, a lot of people believe in momentum. I don't. I understand teams goes on run, but if you're a good athlete and you just fight, good things usually end up happening for you.
Well, you're right about that, because at one point there, the momentum shifted to Alabama late in the game on the scoop and score, and then Hendon Hooker throws another touchdown.
If there is such a thing.
Right, exactly. I mean, and there is in some of these games, but as a former college and NFL quarterback yourself, you have to appreciate what you saw from Hendon Hooker there with 9 seconds to play to get the completion to Brew McCoy, the 27-yard pickup.
Right. Yeah, the second throw. The first one was a really good throw. The second throw was a championship throw, and a Heisman-type throw to stay in it. And, you don't get a lot of opportunities, but, Hendon Hooker didn't have to do anything today to convince me he's a legit All-American-type quarterback. I don't know what he's going to win, but I know tonight he's won for Tennessee, and his football team is going to go in there and celebrate, but he fought the whole game. But also I want to point out that Alex Golesh, their offensive coordinator for Tennessee, was committed to running the ball. They had only rushed for 55 yards a year ago. He said, I gave up on it. In this game, they rushed for 180. They stayed balanced. They kept the Alabama safeties and defense playing both the run and the pass, and they were able to gouge them. That Bama secondary really looked bad. They're going to have to reevaluate how they play those slot receivers, because in this game, those receivers got on those safeties and they ran right by them. A lot of things happen in this football game.
Yeah, a lot of things happen indeed. 17 penalties for Alabama, a school record. I know Nick Saban is none too pleased about that. Perhaps, Gary, if they didn't have all those penalties, this might be a different result for the Tide.
Yeah, there's 100 little things that could have been different in this football game. You're right. When they got the scoop and score, you felt like that would be the backbreaker for the game, but just keep playing. I tell everybody, kids I coach, of course we got to play the scoreboard and play the strategy, but you got to keep playing. And I thought both these teams showed it. There could have been strategic changes on both sides, but, who ended up with the ball. We thought maybe who ended up with the ball last would win. Well, they gave Tennessee one more chance, and they won.
Gary, before I let you go, you are a wily veteran. You have been doing this for years. Does it ever get old to see a game like that play out in front of you with all of the students rushing the field and seeing the emotion and the atmosphere? Because, look, as a college football fan, as myself, I love seeing the scene week in and week out. This is what makes college football so great.
I try to keep my composure as an analyst the whole game. I try not to get caught up in all the stuff surrounding. But at the end of the game, when you get to be a part of one of these instant classics, and you're right, I've been doing it for over 30 years, you don't forget these type of games. And as I said to Ness, nobody has it better than we did today watching this football game and being a part of it.
Well, you told a great story there for us on CBS, and an instant classic indeed, as Tennessee upsets Alabama, winning their first game in the series since 2006. Gary Danielson here on CBS Sports HQ.
Just remember one last point,
yes,
though.
Sir.
Both teams still control their own destiny. Remember that. Both teams still do. Alabama wins out, they're there.
Yep, that would be incredible if we saw Alabama and we saw Tennessee. If Tennessee can take down Georgia in 3 weeks' time, well, that would be quite a scene in Atlanta, and we'll, of course, see you there for that. Gary, thanks. Appreciate the insight and the perspective.
You got it. Thank you.
What a game. What a game. Great to have Gary and his perspective, a pro's pro. In the moment, calling that game at he and Brad Nessler. Wow, that was fun. Next week's game, you got a lot to live up to there. Ole Miss visiting LSU. The Lane Train not slowing down. 7-0 for the second time since 1962. The Ole Miss won last season's meeting 31-17. You can catch that game next Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on CBS.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.